Hi, today we are going to revisit well-known and pretty old technique, vertex displacement, which was highly popularized by 4040, and we will start from standard PBR pipeline and then move to more interesting variants, which include several tips and tricks I use in my daily practice. Let's start from scratch as usual. We need a simple grid. Let's set a resolution here. And orient it in ZX axis. Let's add attribute to create normals and tangents and geocomp. Camera, light, render. And now we can apply texture to this grid. I downloaded stone texture from Polyheaven. I highly recommend this site. It has many PBR textures and also HDRI maps, which you could use for environment light. Also, you could check some textures on Quixel Megascans. Also recommend this website. We can just drag and drop all texture we downloaded and let's set the pipeline. This is diffusion map, which is also just color. Also, you could find other name, which is albedo map, roughness map, normal map, ambient occlusion map, and the most interesting one, vertex displacement or height map. I downloaded 2K textures here. You could download 4K, 8K, or whichever you like. Let's set some parameters here. For example, And to activate vertex displacement, we need to switch on displace vertices. Also, let's add environment light. And we got not super realistic one, but pretty nice texture with which we can start to work. First of all, what you can do is to combine different maps with different textures. It's quite interesting to do with height map, for example. We could just connect ramp here, select circular one, and let's set mirror here. We can choose different ways to mix textures. Also, let's set 32 RGB for all textures to avoid flat parts that we don't want now. It's quite tricky to get nice shadows with this technique. We can try, but it's not easy. So instead we can just use screen space ambient occlusion here. Let's set it. And this approach could give us the illusion of shadows in these small areas. We can regulate it using radius of screen space ambient occlusion. And we also can create fake shadows. Let's copy this ramp here. Set just resolution only and invert it. And multiply it with diffusion map to get these deep shadows here. These actually can work from distance. Likewise, you can use some noise here. to make texture even more interesting. Let's make it black and white. So this is very simple pipeline, and it's just standard vertex displacement. Let's save this one. And call it standard PBR. The very interesting thing is to start change the original grid here to something more interesting. Let's reduce the amount of polygons here, because it's pretty computationally heavy technique. We will use fractal SOP here. Let's set the division to 1, smoothness to 2, and set very subtle scale here. Make sure you have pretty low resolution for grid, because it's very computationally heavy node, and to avoid TouchDesginer crash, I recommend you to start from very low values. We connect it here, and what I want to do here is to use vertex normal as well, and we get this interesting crystallized texture instead of just plain. And that's the moment where all the fun starts. We can change parameters here for sure. I don't recommend to increase division, because it's the most computationally heavy step. So I like to set it to 1 or 2. You could play with the direction of displacement, but here I will use just normals. And let's tweak some parameters here. The very interesting parameter to play is parallax scale. And the nice thing here that you could actually turn it on and off and get very interesting result in either case. You could also switch off displacement, vertex displacement at all, and get a very nice texture too. But right now let's play it with it's similar to water or something, but right now let's play with on value. Also, we can remove some maps here, and what I want to do is to adjust our parameters to something more reflective. You could also play with different maps here for environment light, or we can just use standard ramp. It will be interesting too. And very nice thing to add to these glass shards like pieces is to use new bloom node. Let's set minimum radius to 0 and to regulate the shininess of the texture. Also, instead of just this texture here, we can play with any input on vertex displacement. For example, let's set custom noise. And we get even more shards here. Using this screen space ambient occlusion, you could control the amount of shadows. Again, it's very interesting to play with these parameters, and I highly recommend to you to try to mix different maps together or to switch. Sometimes you can get interesting result even if you use just noise like that for a normal map, for example. Let's try. Or we can get a real normal map out of this. And get also very interesting, nice results. And sometimes it's nice to over saturate your texture in different values here. Also, just to see what interesting we can, what else we can get out of it. This is very nice result to me. Let's save it and move to the next trick. So let's copy it and as I said, sometimes it is interesting to play with vertex displacement without real vertex displacement. So let's switch it off, and also let's switch off fractal. Also, I don't want parallax occlusion to be applied here. So we already get very interesting texture. Let's set bloom to 0 right now. So I want to start from ramp here. And I want it to be just ramp. And I will set same height map to diffusion and to height map. And normal texture here. Also, I want increase parallax scale without turning it on. And let's combine it with a couple of noises. Let's clamp it, increase brightness a little. Well, I want to use just noise with very big, something like that, period, harmonic and harmonic spread. Let's compose it using average operation. And here we need to compose it together. We get a very interesting pixelated view. I use luminance difference here. And also let's change, it doesn't matter. Now let's add also blur here. And I want to use another noise. Now we can adjust parameters and position. And also let's use bloom here as well. And we got this quite nice pixelated texture, which is fully 2D. We can also increase scale a little here. We can play using these different parameters here, using this texture. Let's set it like this to make it look like water. And also a nice setting that we can set here is rim. Let's set some interesting color. And I believe this is also a very nice result. Let's move to the next one. Although vertex displacement is very nice technique, sometimes I really want to displace real points in SOP geometry, and it's also very simple to do. Let's move these textures here. And what I want to do is to create a texture of the same resolution as we have here. Let's convert it to chop, and we need it 32 mono. Here we need only one channel. Picture should be full, and now we need to use shuffle to sequence all channels together. And here we use chop tool. Let's drop chop here. R, and we want to displace all vertices only in one direction, P1, which is Y. Sorry. Let's set BAM to normal. Using level and brightness or opacity, we can control the actual displacement. It is also very computationally heavy technique, so we can reduce our texture size and our grid size. And the big plus of this technique is that we can actually achieve very nice shining textures here. Let's remove base color and set metallic to 1 and roughness to 0. And what I want to do is to use let's shift it to something else. To amplify HDR map, we can sometimes use very simple. To amplify reflections here, we can just dial original map. And get something like that. So let's reduce duration out here. And also the big plus is that I recommend you to also to use bloom here as well. To it's a great way to amplify all these shining edges and reflections. And also a very fun thing here that we can actually play with noise on this level, on texture. Let's set it just noise. And also we can add another layer of noise here on soft level. You could use any other soap operators here, as well as we did with Fractor, for example, although you need to remember it is very computationally heavy. And also you could combine actually standard PBR approach and all these maps we have here with this nice texture. For example, let's use normal map here, or this one. Or you can even displace vertices at top of this texture. Let's set this one, for example. Also, you can play with parallax occlusion and any other parameters of PBR approach. And I want to show you one more example. Let's save it as PT displacement. I want to show you how you can make a wave using this approach. Let's switch off it. Sorry, I forgot to. Let's use not a circular but horizontal ramp. By the way, you can also use screen space ambient occlusion here too. And to make a wave, let's use two different ramps here and displace. Also, this one should be stable and something like that. And we get a wave-like form. We can play with it using different noises. For example, we can also add noise here. Very subtle one. To make texture more interesting, we can switch to more rough texture, and also let's color it. Likewise, you can use that noise here. To make texture more interesting. The roughness of the texture obviously depends on the resolution of this mesh. Sorry, not roughness, but the smoothness. But as this is a very computationally heavy technique, I recommend to use a resolution here with caution. But we still can get a very nice patterns out here. I think this is it. I hope you like it, and I will upload all these examples to my Patreon and can wait to see results.